Chapter 8. Something Fell. It was a cloudy Wednesday afternoon, and Drake Doyle lay in bed, miserable. He had stayed home from school with a cold, a nasty cold. He sneezed, he sniffled, he blew his nose, and every now and then he coughed a bit as well. So you see, he was quite miserable indeed. Just then, there was a scratch and a sniff at his door. "Come in," he croaked, and in trotted Dr. Livingston. "Hello there," said Drake, already cheered by the visit. Dr. Livingston gave him a lick on the chops and wagged his tail hello. After patting Dr. Livingston on the head, Drake withdrew a long, skinny roll of paper from the pouch that hung from Dr. Livingston's neck. Written on the roll of paper was a column of letters from top to bottom, a secret code. Then from under his bed, Drake pulled out a rolling pin, the code breaker. Tapping the end of the strip of paper near one of the handles, he wound the paper around the rolling pin like a bandage. A secret message appeared as he knew it would. "Detective Doyle, I suspect something foul. Meet me at Nature's headquarters immediately. I will explain everything. Signed, Naturalist Nell. P.S. Missed you today at school. Hope you are feeling better." Drake forgot about his cold. "Quick, Dr. Livingston," he cried as he pushed back the covers. "Fetch my detective kit." And even though Drake really should have stayed in bed because he had a cough and was running a slight fever, he couldn't bear to stay home knowing something foul was afoot. He was a true detective at heart. He washed, dressed, combed his hair, and blew his nose for good measure, then quietly slipped over to Nature's headquarters with Dr. Livingston. He didn't really like slipping out without permission, but he had a job to do, nasty cold or not. He left a note on his nightstand that read, "Dear Mom, feeling much better, respiration normal, pulse regular. Call me on my cell phone if worried. Signed, Detective Doyle." "You look awful," said Nell when she opened the front door. "Thanks," he replied, trying to sound cheery even though his nose was stuffed up. Without further ado, Nell grabbed him by his scarf, yanked him into the Nature headquarters, and shut the door. Nature headquarters was their secret code name for Nell's room. It made perfectly sense because it looked just like a jungle. Giant papier-mâché trees loomed overhead, dangling vines and glittered leaves. Here and there and everywhere were aquariums, terrariums, and cages filled with spiders, snakes, fish, plants, bugs, rats, and all sorts of creepy crawlers. At any one time in her room, something was always sleeping, sneezing, snorting, scooting, scratching, scurrying, slurping, or slithering. The smells of mouse fur, fish water, and fungus filled the steamy air. But neither team nor smells bothered Nell Fossey. Quite simply, Nell loved nature. Nature was his specialty. Nell was a naturalist. "What have you got?" asked Drake as he wiped the steam off his glasses. Nell pointed to an open book on her desk. "Read that." Drake sat and put on his gloves. Information on the diamond-tipped parrot. Began to read, jotting notes to himself in his lab notebook every once in a while. Native to the jungles of Mexico. Achoo. Almost a stink, sniff, honk. Only 10 diamond-tipped parrots left in the world. Cough, cough. After Drake finished the article, he turned to Nell and said, "Fascinating indeed, but what's this got to do with us?" "Glad you asked," said Nell as she began to pace the room. From the look on his partner's face, Drake knew this was serious. He braced himself for the worst. "As you know," Nell explained, "today was Pet Day at Seaview Elementary. Everyone brought their pets and shared a little about them." "You brought Dr. Livingston, I presume." "Correct. Of course, there were the usual dogs and cats and rabbits, but Baloney brought something special. Quite special, I soon discovered." Drake frowned. Usually things having to do with Baloney weren't good at all. Not only was Baloney a friend of Frisco's, but he was the hugest kid at Seaview Elementary. Now, being huge by itself wasn't a bad thing, but Baloney also loved to squish and smash and mash things, and perhaps sit on them as well. Together, these became very bad things, especially if Baloney was sitting on your head. Baloney's real name wasn't Baloney at all. It was Bubba Mahoney, but no one called him that, not even his mother. "Baloney brought a parrot to class," Nell was saying, moving aside the vines and leaves as she paced. "He said he got it from Jake McNeely's Pet Palace last weekend. Of course, when I got home, I checked my mom's bird book to see what kind of parrot it was. Just curious, you know?" "Naturally. From the photo and description," continued Nell, I'm almost positive that Baloney's bird is a diamond-tipped parrot. But that's impossible because there are only 10 left in the world. All the rest lived in London as part of a breeding colony. Simply put, there are no diamond-tipped parrots in this country." Drake frowned again. "If it's not a diamond-tipped parrot, achoo, then what is it?" Nell stopped her pacing and leaned toward Drake. She lowered her voice to a whisper. That's just it, Detective Doyle. I think it is a diamond-tip parrot. And if it is, that means it was kidnapped from the jungles of Mexico. Jake gasped. Great Scots! That's against the law! Precisely. It's called illegal wildlife trafficking, but it happens all the time. People kidnap exotic, endangered animals and sell them just to make a buck. It can cause the extinction of an entire species. She paused and looked deadly serious. That's why we must go to Jake McNeely's pet palace and snoop around, immediately. Where there's one kidnapped parrot, there are bound to be more. Doyle and Fossey to the rescue.